What's going on, YouTube? This is Rybo at the Fake Bench, and I come to you today with some really devastating news, and that is that I have gotten into sacks. Do not get into sacks. That's what I've heard, but I've gotten into them. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, sacks are Swiss Army knives, and I have fallen headfirst, much like my recent Chris Reeve Sabenza fascination. I have really gotten into Swiss Army knives, particularly the Alox series. And I did a review of the Pioneer a while back, and kind of ashamed of that review. I really didn't know anything about Swiss Army knives or Victorinox or the Alox series. I really didn't know anything, and did a review anyway, and got appropriately slammed for it, and it's still out there. Might re-review it and pull that one down, but you live and learn, and you experience different knives, and you come to different conclusions. And so my interests and tastes have certainly changed from year to year, but right now I find myself in kind of the middle of a fascination with the Swiss Army knife. And so while I had three different ones on the bench, I thought that I would kind of just do a side by side. This isn't going to be a review. This isn't going to be a cutter carry, really, although I'll talk a little bit about that. This is really just going to be, look, here's three very good looking Swiss Army knives, Alox. And if you are trying to decide between these three knives, maybe these thoughts will help you. Maybe not, but maybe so. So what do we have in front of us? So we have the Alox Bantam. We have the Alox Cadet, and then we have the Alox Farmer over here. And if I flip these up so that you can kind of see the differences, you'll see that they increase in size and thickness and number of tools as they go from right to left. So the Bantam isn't the smallest Swiss Army knife, but it is one of the smaller versions. I just realized another one in my pocket. Let me see if I can get it out really quick. I actually have two Cadets, because the Cadet has become my go-to Swiss Army knife, particularly this one. This is the DLT green version, which I really like. Same knife as the kind of the Champagne 2019 version here. But I've kind of gone through this process of picking a Swiss Army knife. And so my process, just personally, was I tried the Pioneer years ago. I thought it was a cool knife. It wasn't for me, so I gave it away. And then recently, as I've kind of gotten back into it, I picked up a Farmer. And so the Farmer was from DLT. This is an exclusive version, and it's really just the color, the exclusive green version. You do have, I think on the blade maybe, you have the... maybe not on this version. I thought on my Cadet you definitely do. On the Cadet you have a DLT marker on the blade. But I picked up this, and really the Farmer is known for the serrated blade. And so it has this serrated blade, which is really interesting. It's a different type of serration than I've seen before. Really cool, but probably, I think, very difficult to sharpen. Besides that, you have your classic tools, except for the addition of the reamer. So that's on the Pioneer, but the Pioneer doesn't have the serrated blade. And so that's kind of how the Swiss Army knives work, right? So you work up from a basic version of just a blade, and then you get just the blade, the can opener, the screwdriver, and then you get that stuff plus your reamer, and then you get that stuff plus the serrated blade, et cetera, et cetera. And so I picked this one up, and I really liked this knife, but I found it just a little bit too big for daily carry. Just practically, I'm carrying a large knife, typically a large Sabenza, and I found this practically to be just a bit too big for me. I didn't really need the serrated blade all that much, and so I just really didn't find myself carrying it. And I had actually found the same thing to be true with the Pioneer, and I'm gonna pick another one up and kind of see if it still holds true a couple years later. But I found that it was even a little bit too thick for me to actually carry on a day-to-day basis. So I got this one, kind of put this aside, and I picked up the Cadet. And just for the purpose of having a different color on the screen, I'll pull in this one. But I actually picked up the DLT green version of the Cadet, which is right here. And I started carrying it, and I fell completely in love with the Cadet. and I don't think it's left my pocket since the day that I got it. It is so lightweight, it is so thin, and you can see how thin it is. And it is a lot smaller in length as well, and a lot thinner than the Farmer. But it has all of the basic tools that I need. So this has a knife, which of course I need. This has the this has the nail file, which I never use. And this has the screwdriver and the try to do this without cutting myself. The screwdriver and the bottle opener, and there's other applications of those tools, but these two are really the reason that I now carry the Cadet, because I find myself using a flathead or Phillips head screwdriver all the time. It comes in handy, maybe not every day, but just about every day. And so really that's the reason, obviously more than the knife, because I'm usually carrying a knife, but that is the most practical thing that I've found with the Cadet. Now this is the 2019 Champagne version, as you can see there, but the Cadet is just such a great knife because it's so incredibly thin. You get all of those tools in a very lightweight package. I think it looks fantastic because you have this Alox, these aluminum scales here. You can get lots of different color options, and man, I love it. But that kind of piqued my interest in very thin Swiss Army knives, and so I went and I picked up a Bantam. And the Bantam, if you thought the Cadet was thin, the Bantam is unbelievably thin, and it's because you don't get as many tools. You have the knife, and then you have this. So this can be used as a screwdriver, and I've effectively used it for flathead and Phillips head, although the flathead's, the Phillips head's gonna kind of depend on the size, and obviously a bottle opener. But this is very, very helpful as well, and it's incredibly thin. I think the color's good, although I wish I'd gotten the silver version because I do not like the Knife Center exclusive logo on the back at all. I totally missed that when I was ordering it, and I was kind of bummed when it showed up. I wish you could find the Bantam a little bit more readily available. It's a little bit difficult to find, and I think the only colors I saw were silver and red. They may have a black version, and if so, I'd love to pick that one up. But I just thought, hey, if I like the Cadet so much, I'm probably going to love the Bantam. And so I picked up the Bantam, and I started carrying it, and I really liked it. It is unbelievably thin. It is really, really cool to have a little tool that is that thin. And honestly, I carry this a decent amount, but what I have personally found is that the Cadet is the perfect Swiss Army knife for me. For me personally, the Cadet is thin enough to where it disappears in the pocket. It can lay flat at the bottom of the pocket. I don't really notice it unless I need it, and it comes in handy all the time. For me personally, the Bantam, the little tool here, has become, I've found this to be too thin a number of times. Now, a lot of times it works out just great, and sometimes it's perfect. But I found it to be just too small at times, and enough times to where the Cadet has become my go-to carry. One thing that I really like about the Bantam, and now that I say that, I can't even remember if the Cadet is the same way. Yes, it is that this does not lock at 50%, but this does. And so you have a stop at 50%, and then you can obviously go to the full open. But one of the things one of the great things about the fact that you have a half stop on that tool, is that there are applications with a screwdriver where you need to get in and tighten up a screw. A perfect application of this to me recently was trying to tighten a handle on a door. And so if you think about your door handle, it has those two screws. Typically they're recessed behind the actual handle of the door. So you can't really take a typical screwdriver. You can, but you'll end up scratching up the door handle. But something like this is really, really helpful because you have a half stop. And so you can get in there and you can tighten and loosen without scratching anything up. And so I actually think it's really awesome that it has a half stop there. And that's really, I think, the end of this video. No real point to this besides to just talk about what my recent journey with the Swiss Army knives are. I have just really fallen in love with the Swiss Army knives. Right now, I think I have a couple more somewhere else. I'll probably be trying out a Pioneer again. There's some other ones that I'd like to try out, but the Cadet particularly has become my go-to. I think it is an incredible knife, incredible value, and it's become part of my daily carry. So hope this video has been in some way helpful or enjoyable to you, and I'll see you next time.